Are you praying for an alcoholic loved one? Someone that you're really, really worried about, and you've been praying for them for a while and you haven't noticed anything happening? Don't give up. God is at work, even when we can't see what He's doing. And today I'm going to share a story with you about how the angel saved my dad's life, literally saved his life. And hope that that gives you some courage to keep praying, because it's not over yet. Now, my dad's alcoholism had reached almost its peak. It was getting really, really bad. He was either in the bars drinking, or we didn't know where he was because we couldn't find him, or he was at home sleeping it off, or he was violently ill. One of the four. It was one of the four. It was just a round robin of that activity. It was getting really bad. And of course, we were really, really worried about him. One night after drinking in the bars, he was driving home at about 2 a.m, mid-February, in Boise, very cold, mid-20s. And he made what he thought was a right turn. Only it wasn't. Well, it was a right turn, but it wasn't a right turn on the road that he wanted to turn on. He turned into a parking lot. And he made a big loop and drove his car through the side of a building into a dentist's office. Now, this was in the old days. The cars were like tanks, and this was an old-fashioned Cadillac. It was huge and heavy, and evidently had the impetus to get through the wall of the dentist's office. We didn't have cell phones in those days, remember? We're so used to them now. So he didn't have a way to call for help, but he knew he needed help because he was bleeding from his head. So he got out of the car, and off in the distance, as he was looking around trying to decide which direction to start walking, he could see some lights. So he decided to start walking towards the group of lights that he saw in the distance. Now, the first obstacle was that the interstate was between him and the lights. And at that time, the interstate was bordered by a chain link fence, which he proceeded to climb successfully. How he did that, I don't know. That's not easy to climb a chain link fence. I would have a hard time climbing a chain link fence sober, especially when someone's really, really drunk. I would think it would be a very difficult thing to do, but he did it. Crossed the interstate without getting hit and climbed the fence on the other side. And after that, he found himself walking through a series of pastures. I'm sure he had to get through a barbed wire fence to get into the pastures. And he's still walking towards the lights. And in that day, Boise was a lot more rural than it is now. So it wasn't unusual for there to be groups of pastures that would have horses or cattle in them, kind of strewn about in the subdivision areas of the town. So he was walking, and it was a ways to get to the lights. And he started to get really, really tired. And at one point, he just said he couldn't go on. So he laid down on the ground. It was 22 degrees out because it was mid-February. And he knew that if he laid on the ground and stayed there, he was probably going to die of exposure. But according to him, a horse came up to him. Now, I find this hard to believe, but this is where the angels must have come in. A horse came up to him and warmed him up. And when he's telling me this story, I'm thinking, how did the horse warm you up? Horses don't really do that. A lot of times they don't pay attention to someone in their pasture. They might chase them out, but they usually don't go up and try to bond with them. Sometimes dogs will do stuff like that, but horses usually don't. And even if you establish an emotional connection with your horse, which you can do, it's not the same as a dog. They're just not like that. They don't respond emotionally on that level. But according to him, the horse got close enough to him to warm him up. And he got up and just held on to the horse for a while until he felt his body warming up, and then proceeded to walk the rest of the way towards the lights. Probably had to get through another part of a barbed wire fence, but realized once he got there that the lights were the hospital, and he was at the emergency room entrance. And they took him in, and they took care of him, and he lived to tell the story. Now, you would have thought that that would have been enough motivation for him to get sober, but you would have been wrong, because it wasn't. He continued to drink for a few more years, and about 5 years after that, he finally did get sober. And he was sober for 20 years with a healthy recovery. His life was completely different. He was completely different. He was very successful because he was really good at what he did, even when he was drinking a lot. But he was even better when he was sober. And then, unfortunately, relapsed and drank for 5 more years. And again, was almost at the end. And he said he knew that he was going to die this way if he continued. And a lot of people were going to feel really bad. He was going to hurt a lot of people by doing it. And he had a counselor tell him, actually, Jay, it's not your fault you're an alcoholic. However, your recovery is your responsibility. And for some reason, that clicked, and he got sober again. And he lived for almost 10 more years sober, but he died sober. And he came to the Lord. So he had a very peaceful homegoing, and I'm so grateful for that. And you know, it can get discouraging if you're praying for a loved one and you've been praying for a long time and it's a serious situation. Listen, it is hard to watch someone you love destroy themselves. But God is faithful, and we just can't give up praying because we don't know what He has in store. So don't stop praying for your loved one. And the verse that came to me when I was preparing the information for this video was Isaiah 62, 6 and 7, where God appoints watchmen for Jerusalem. And He tells them, take no rest for yourselves and give Him no rest, implying God, until He establishes peace for Jerusalem. So we cannot give up on praying. Keep praying. Don't give up. Leave your prayer intentions in the comments, and I will pray for your loved one with you. I will join with you in prayer. My name is Sally New, and I help Christian women develop doable, healthy boundaries and implement strategies that promote recovery and a peaceful family system. You can download the free document that's in the link below, and it will walk you through a 3-step process that you can surrender anything that's bothering you, anything that's on your mind that's just troubling you. We've always got something, don't we? But the Lord is big enough to handle it. And I'd love it if you would like and subscribe, of course. Reach out to me in the comments. Let me know what's going on with you. I would love to pray for you. Leave me a prayer intention, and I will be back in touch soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.